Hi, Eva.
Hello.
Um, yeah, Eva founded the nonprofit organization, the Global Fashion Agenda, in 2009, along with the Copenhagen Fashion Summit. That was a time when we all obviously couldn't even pronounce the word sustainability. And she became one of the loudest and leading voices when it comes to the topic. So, Eva, I would really like to know, after 11 years of activism for sustainability, what is on the global agenda for 2021?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we still have a lot of different topics to crack as an industry. One of the big steps that we have taken is that we have a vocabulary. We have it on the agenda when the German fashion industry is joining forces and talking about industry challenges. So that for one step, and that it is sort of in vogue. It's on a bridge to sort of really picking up pace as well. I think one other thing that is really important is that we have more transparency. So it's become something that we can talk about. People are less afraid of sharing even things that are difficult, because this is certainly difficult. And I think one of the major things that has been a challenge has been that many companies feel that they have to be perfect before they even start telling about what they're doing. And I really believe that perfect cannot stand in the way of doing good in a space like sustainability, where all efforts counts. So I think what we need now, maybe having looking back at what we've achieved over the last 10 years, is to really put action behind the words, because there's a lot of commitment out there, a lot of bold statements, a lot of initiatives and convenings, and but we really need to put the speed around the pedal, because we're working under urgency. I mean,
Mhm.
we have less than 10 years to break the curve in terms of a major global environmental and climate crisis that we're facing. And I think we've all appreciated this year how much we actually are able to do in a crisis like this with the pandemic, to come together, to all sort of move into the right if the politicians say so, and to prove that we can still survive as humanity, by being humane, by considering each other and having a collective responsibility for how the world works. And I think it's exactly the same that we need to do with our industry.
Vanessa Friedman from the New York Times said a few years ago, but not too long ago, that sustainability is still not very sexy, and that we need a pop cultural approach to change that. You just said there are a lot of initiatives, there is enough going on, but has the topic really become sexy, or is it just a must do?
No, honestly, I think that's actually one of the reasons why I thought fashion industry is the industry to crack this nut. Because if there's anything that's sexy, that's fashion. And I think we have exactly the means to make it a sexy story. That sustainability is not just about having 8 pieces of black clothes in your wardrobe that you shift between, or that it has to be brown and scratchy and unattractive. We can, by the creativity and the ingenuity of fashion, we can exactly provide a sustainable choice that is equally desirable and making us feel good and all of that. Because at the end of the day, this comes down to product, right? I don't live on another planet. I buy fashion because I love it, and that's what the majority of people on this planet will continue to do. We want to be seduced. We want to be, we want to feel good. We're going out on Saturday, when we're going to go back to that. It has so many emotional tones to what is behind the purchase of a fashion product. It's not saving the world. So I think sustainability comes down the ladder when it comes to people's choices. And I really do believe that that's one of the reasons fashion has such an immense opportunity, but also responsibility. Because
But
even the sheer fact of the size of this industry, if we do this differently, we can also encourage so many other industries to follow.
But isn't that only the problem of fashion? Because fashion per se is not sustainable, as we all want more. We want to have something new for Saturday evening. And one of the, of the big credos of this word, of this mindset is buy less, buy smarter. But people,
Mhm.
do they really live up to it? Or do you think they will one day?
Well, I certainly hope so. And I think fashion, our industry can be part of sort of enforcing a new way of doing business. I think we've seen a lot during the COVID, how people have been innovative in terms of how they've turned over dead stock into new product or pushed things to other other times of the year. I think the whole value proposition of fashion is in place here, right? We've been scrutinizing our industry over decades by a price hunt, by pushing and marking down and being pressured by online retail, who constantly, provides a cheaper choice than the one in the retail store. We've been shifting the whole calendar, delivering fall goods pre-fall in April that will then let the actual seasonal goods be marked down in the middle of the season, why they should have been sold at the highest price. And I think we've educated consumers into always looking for a cheaper bargain and to buy 3 instead of 1. We can turn that around. I think if we really utilize the moment that we have right now with the current crisis that we're in and actually do a reset and rethink how this whole business is structured and the cadence of when we push product and how much markdowns we need, instead of buying 2 products, buy 1, but pay the fair price that includes all the externalities, the river that didn't send the invoice, the labor that wasn't paid fair. Have all of that included and let us come back to a stage where people appreciate product in a different way. And then on top of that, I think consumers are very much open to new business models. And a lot of industries have found out, even people who are producing new garments, that you can resell. And if you can sell the same jacket 5 times, why wouldn't you, rather than produce another one? If you can remake old product that are already out there, I mean, there's so many new business opportunities in this. So I think it's about us being creative and using exactly what our industry is known for, creativity and ingenuity, and making it a trend, making it cool to shop less, but buy smarter. And this is not about not having prosperity and not having transactions. This is about what's in the transaction and how high the margins are. And this is not about, just pushing luxury fashion, because you could say, okay, then everybody should just buy really expensive goods. And I appreciate that the majority of people on the planet don't have money to buy Hugo Boss or Burberry, but there will be ways to still put out sustainable products that are made well at a democratic price point, but where we don't continuously mark it down and enforce people going onto all of those massive sales where they come home with too much. And we keep having this feeling about fashion that it's something that doesn't have any value, that we just take it, wear it a couple of times and dispose it. We have to come back to a sense where product has value. And I think that's a really interesting consequence of this crisis.
The title of the last year's summit was Redesigning Value. Is that exactly what you were talking about, basically?
It's exactly what I was talking about. And I do think that all of us this year, and this is maybe also an interesting thing, this year we've been more alike across the world. We've had more similar life conditions than ever before, because we've been under lockdown, and regardless of where you live on the planet, some of the conditions of being at home, not being able to shop as much, being with your family and having those maybe value conversations, actually, what has value to me, what really matters and what means something. And I'm in sweatpants here. If I stood up, you'd see, and many of you are probably in sweatpants. I'd put on a jumper that wasn't too sporty, but we've been in the same uniform, and we figured out that we can make a lot of things happen without having all of the things that we thought we were dependent on before. So I think there is a big shift in the mindset of us as citizens and people, and eventually also consumers. So I think there's something interesting for this industry also to build on, in terms of how do we create value? How do we come back to something that has value for people?
You were fighting for this topic for the last 15 years or so, and now you decided to step back from your position or your function as a CEO of the Global Fashion Agenda and join the industry. The company you're joining is called Pangaia, so Gaia, like Mother Earth. Why did you decide to change sides, and why to that company?
Well, you said it yourself. I've been here 15 years battling it on this side, and you can hear my preach. It doesn't stop. I think it's time that I walk the talk and that I join your side. I'm looking at all the faces or names I can see on the screen, and be actual part of it, and prove my case, basically. So I haven't been thinking about this a lot at all, and I'm super dedicated to Global Fashion Agenda and our mission, and I'm also taking a seat on the board to continue to be part of the journey. But I've been advising for Pangaea for the past year. They're only like 1.5-year-old company, so it's a startup, but a really fast-growing startup. It's just as ambitious as I am on the mission to create a different world and to use the power and leverage of design and innovation, material science, bridging biotech and technologies and science.
They're very strong on
to create a different, on materials,
And maybe you can shed a light on, what's really new. I mean, concrete. What kind of materials is this company that is so new and that is so fast forward? What are the new sustainable or biodegradable materials that were really inspiring you?
Well, I think, it's material science, but it's also all the businesses that they're going to create underneath that umbrella. On the material science side, I think it's so relevant and interesting that we as an industry find, especially two replacements. We need to replace polyester and nylon, all of the major synthetics that are everywhere, and cotton. And the replacement for cotton hasn't fully been found yet, but that's on the rise. As a replacement for polyester, Pangaea has recently invested in a company called Kintra that actually has a plant-based biodegradable nylon replacement. So I think investments like those and rolling them out is going to advance sustainability so fast. So that's why I want to join that side and be part of that push.
If I would really like to know, what is your view on the German fashion market? How do you see us here?
I haven't recently dived fully into how it's evolving, but it has always struck me that Germans have been first when it comes to a holistic approach to, for instance, homeopathy, or, we felt early when we launched some of our thinking in sustainability that it was picked up by German brands. So I actually think that Germany could have an advantage of actually having a more holistic approach. And I don't know why you have that actually as countrymen, but there is this sense of being more open-minded, I feel, and curious, and having, this sense of holism. And that is a big part of sustainability, because everything is interconnected. And you have to be able to see the bigger picture and make the long-term decisions, not the short-term financial, drivers, but really have the long lens.
And when it comes to innovation that are so important these days, and I was just talking to Christian Eder, you couldn't follow because it was in German, but he said that from the outside, the Germans often do not see themselves as high as other countries do, because they look at Germany and at the creative industries and think, well, Germany is a strong creative industry. That's what he said. But it's more the look from the outside when it comes to innovation and technology, material research, for example, or machines that we're building for knitting and 3D printing, for example. Do you agree?
Yeah. We actually found one of the best 3D, super cool guy called Cornelius in Berlin, who we made as part of the Copenhagen Fashion Summit show when we did it digitally. And he's created an amazing machine that can print a shoe. He can create a 100% circular 3D printed shoe, and like no one in the world. So, you guys are a big country with a lot of capacity and a lot of creativity. And we find a lot of inspiration, especially from Berlin, and especially from some of the more subcultures that you also have in your fashion community. So definitely, I think that could be something also on the innovation side that we could find in Germany.
When it comes to circular fashion, we need a lot of innovation, right? Because there's one German company. We will talk with them later. Armed Angels, and they started with a circular T on T-shirt, for example.
Yeah.
So as far as I got the study right, and everything that you have been fighting for, the circular fashion system is the aim, right? This is what we all try to achieve.
It's definitely one of the biggest sort of system shifts or solutions out there, because it also, grabs into the whole economic thinking. To have a full circular system requires a lot. So we need to pursue other solutions as well as circular, for societies, but also for fashion.
Thank you. And good luck with Pangaea.
Thank you. And thanks for having me. Dankeschön.